I was in 11th grade when we moved to a new town, and the high school I transferred to was old, really old. The plaque at the front entrance said established in 1962, and the entire building seemed worn down by time. From the outside, it looked like the school had 3 floors, but no one ever went up to the 3rd floor. Students whispered that the 3rd floor doesn't really exist. On my first day, a kid in the cafeteria leaned over to me and said, "The stairs go up to the 3rd floor, but the door's always locked, and if you hear footsteps coming from up there, you better run." I laughed it off at the time, but what I experienced a month later still haunts my dreams. One day, I had to stay late for study hall. I was one of the last students in the building. After my teacher let us go, my phone died, so I decided to walk home. The halls were dimly lit, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. As I passed the stairwell, I noticed something odd. The metal door to the 3rd floor was open. That door had always been locked, every single day, but now it stood ajar. Something pulled me toward it. Maybe curiosity, maybe something else. My footsteps echoed as I climbed the stairs. The emergency exit light bathed everything in an eerie green hue. At the top, I froze. The posters on the wall were from the 1980s, the student lists, teacher portraits. It was like walking into a perfectly preserved ghost town. The desks were dusty. The blackboard had one sentence written in chalk: "We're not coming back." Then a chair tipped over somewhere deeper in the hallway. The sound wasn't footsteps. It was more like scratching. I held my breath. I wanted to turn back, but the stairwell behind me was now pitch black. Someone had closed the door. I kept walking. One classroom had a broken window, and from inside I heard the faint sound of a child crying. I slowly pushed the door open. The room was empty, but written in chalk on the floor were the words, "They never left." Suddenly someone shouted, "Hey!" I spun around. No one was there, but I could hear the soft patter of bare feet moving down the corridor. I ran, but the floor didn't make sense anymore. It was like a maze. I opened a random classroom door trying to hide, and found an old bulletin board with a faded class photo. One student in the front row had their eyes blacked out. Beneath it was scribbled, "Only one made it out." My chest was tight. I couldn't breathe. Behind me, I heard the soft creak of the door. I pressed my ear to it. Silence. Then, the door slowly opened on its own. Nothing was there, just a dark, endless hallway. I took a step back. Then, a hand grabbed my wrist, ice cold. I screamed and yanked myself free. Just then, a voice echoed from downstairs. "Is someone up there?" A janitor. I ran. I bolted down the stairs toward the voice. When he saw me, his face turned pale. How did you get up there? That floor's been sealed for years." The next day, investigators came to the school. The door to the 3rd floor was chained shut again. Teachers dismissed the whole thing. They said the kid was just tired, they said. But I know what I saw, and I know that floor still exists. And every 10 years, someone opens it. It was just an ordinary Friday during 7th period. That meant the week was almost over and spring break was right around the corner. Everyone was happy in their seats. We didn't have a test that day, unlike some of my friends who did in their other classes. Our teacher was a pretty laid-back guy, and in the middle of class, he decided to lighten the mood by playing a game with us. We were doing a brand logo guessing game. Right after my friend answered a question, the assistant principal's voice suddenly came blaring through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked. "This is not a drill. Go into lockdown immediately." I got chills and goosebumps all over my arms. Even our usually calm teacher looked shaken. He rushed to turn off the lights and moved us to the back corner of the classroom. We sat there in complete silence for about 2 minutes. Then, the usual buzzing sound from the panel at the back of the room suddenly stopped. That meant the school had cut the power. We all looked at each other, realizing things were serious now. After a little while, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls started crying, which made everyone even more terrified. The screaming got closer as the man began banging on the lockers, yelling, "I'll kill all of you!" That was the moment I genuinely feared for my life. Our teacher hushed us while we all exchanged terrified glances. Then the banging moved from the lockers to our classroom door. That's when one of the crying girls screamed, "No!" The banging only got louder and the man started yelling, "Open up!" Two of the girls were now sobbing out loud. The banging went on for what felt like forever, but eventually the man moved on, still screaming like a maniac, until we couldn't hear him anymore. About 10 minutes later, though it felt more like 30, the assistant principal came back on the intercom to explain the situation, which was surprising in itself. He said that apparently a mentally unstable man had entered the building and attacked a woman sitting at the front desk, who then ran out of the building screaming. No one was sure whether the man had a weapon. This was before the school had cameras or any real security, so stuff like this could still happen. Staff had searched all the hallways and classrooms but couldn't find him, so the teachers were told to resume class, but keep the doors locked and not let any students out for any reason. The most disturbing part came later. A janitor working the night shift found the man asleep in one of the storage closets near the back of the school. According to rumors, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum. Apparently, the janitor did something careless, like leaving the door open, and by the time the police arrived, the man was gone. To this day, no one in my class, at least as far as I know, has any idea if that guy was ever found. But I like to think that wherever he is, he's finally getting the help he needs. I was in my senior year of high school. The old biology lab at our school hadn't been used in years. Rumor had it that a student once had a breakdown in there, and after that, the room was shut down. But our homeroom teacher decided to reopen it under the excuse of renovations. One day during biology class, we were assigned to work in that lab in small groups. Our group was the last one scheduled, which meant after everyone left, we were also responsible for locking up. The room was creepy enough on its own. The old hanging lights flickered constantly, and strange tapping sounds occasionally came from the cabinets. Glass jars containing preserved organs floated in darkened fluids that had discolored over time. While one of my groupmates was poking around one of the cabinets, he said, "This cabinet's locked, but something's moving inside." At first we all laughed it off, but then we all went quiet and listened. There really was movement coming from inside. When we forced the cabinet open, it was empty, but on the inside wall, written in what looked like fresh blood, were warnings telling us to leave. They looked recent. We were frozen in fear. Right at that moment, the lab lights suddenly turned off, then flickered back on. One of my friends screamed. Behind her, in one of the jars, a face had appeared. Its eyes were open, and it was staring right at us. Then, it vanished. We bolted out of the room in pure panic. The next day, the lab was inspected, but nothing was found. When we told our teacher what we had seen, he just smiled. There were rumors like that the first time this lab was opened too. You know what's strange though? There was never supposed to be a face in that jar. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget to like and stay tuned for more stories. See you soon.